Blog Talk Radio.
Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. I sense your presence. And I am the light within your soul. In the essence of truth and right, love makes the circle whole. And here we stand in line, waiting for some sacred sign. But to find the balance is the purpose of this time. To restore the balance of the universal mind. And in the presence of my Lord of light and love, everything I see aspiring to be free. And when I call to thee, and come on bended knee, surrender to the all-pervading light and love. Reflections of the one surrounding me with love. And I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. Within and without, above and below, yeah. East, west, north, and south, I sense your presence. Without and within, below and above, yeah. East, west, north, and south, I sense your presence. I sense your presence. Presence of my Lord of light and love, everything I find in tune with the divine. And here we stand in line, waiting for some sacred sign. But to find the balance is the purpose of this time. To restore the balance of the universal mind. And I am the light within your soul. In the essence of truth and right, love makes the circle whole. And when I call to thee, and come on bended knee, surrender to the all-pervading light and love. Reflections of the one surrounding me with love. For to find the balance is the purpose of this time. To restore the balance of the universal mind. And I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy Way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, holy angel of the Most High. Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. I sense your presence.
Thank you for joining me here tonight on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I'm your hostess this evening. The music you were listening to at the beginning of the show is I Sense Your Presence. It's by Shunshai. And I just want to extend a welcome to everybody that's joining us here tonight, whether you're returning because you've listened to the show before or whether you're joining us for the very first time here. We are streaming live in 3 additional places: TalkStream Live, StreamFinder, and Penn, also known as Para Encounters Network. I welcome everybody listening through there as well, and those that are catching our podcast through TuneIn.com, iTunes, or through my YouTube pages. Here at Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour, what I do is I look at the different ways that compassion exists in our lives, how to remove our blocks, resistances, frustrations, and more. And some weeks I'm discussing different aspects of how compassion is in our lives, how it affects our lives, and the different areas of compassion. And some weeks I'm doing different exercises and practical implementation. I've done that over the last couple of months. I've had a couple of shows that I've done that, and I have some more coming up in the upcoming weeks, like on Halloween. Many times also I have guests on the show, and tonight's no exception to having a great guest on the show, and that gives you a chance to learn about their work and how other things complement and work with compassion. In addition to that, I highlight different musical artists along the way. Last year we had Stephen Halpern and Peter Cater on the show, both Grammy nominees. And then also I've had Joel Matson, Claire Medine, Bruce Chigarelli, Craig Carolla, Harold Grandstaff Moses, and you can catch all of those in the archive, which you can do, by the way, by going to my website at JessieNnicholsGeorge1.com. What I do in my own work is to focus on helping people find and use compassion in their everyday lives. I've created the Genesis Clearing Statement, and that's also in our archive. I've authored 4 books, the most recent being You, Me, Life 3, and its companion workbook, and then my first 2 books, Activating Compassion and its companion workbook. In addition, I've created the Compassion Tour, which is a multi-state nationwide tour, including workshops, retreats, seminars, book signings, and fundraising events. And, again, you can follow those on my website. I'm currently on the 2014 tour, and I do want to say I'm here in Providence, Rhode Island tonight is where I'm broadcasting from. So you might notice every weekend coming at you from a different location, and it's really a blast. And I also want to say a special thanks, by the way, to Pam and Marlene, who hosted me there in Massachusetts and Westford. That was just a really great venue to do, and Pam just has a beautiful space to work from, and just loved having the special grid and kind of candles and crystals and everything laid out in the center of our circle as we were working with people, and it's just a beautiful experience there. So thanks so much to them for hosting me this past week, and we'll get on to what I'm coming up to this week, which is going to be in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and that's the Enchanted Path Holistic Center, which we're going to find out a little bit more about that tonight as well. Now, just a reminder, if you enjoyed the show this evening, make certain that you tell your friends and family. I find that when I share the shows, for example, if I just share them even on Facebook, I just always have somebody that shows up and goes, oh, my gosh, I was just having this discussion with people. Or, I get somebody that says, I was just looking for some information on this. So, it might really help somebody out just by clicking that share button. And they can use the same link to get into our archives as you use to get into the live show, and then they can just listen at their convenience, as well as they can go to TuneIn.com or iTunes or my YouTube channel. Those are all options for catching the archives. It takes a little bit to get the archives up on YouTube these days while I'm working from the road, but the rest of the venues are all up and ready to go right away. Now, before we get started on everything tonight, those that have listened in before know that I do like to delve into a little book called The 72 Names of God. It's by Yehuda Berg. And I love Yehuda's work because he takes the big, complex concepts, and he brings them down into everyday language. He brings them into our real lives. And I find that that's a powerful thing because when we can bring them into our real lives, then we start to get experiences. And this is a big thing we've been talking about in the past week while I've been traveling is experiences. Experiences are where our power is. It's where our memories lock in. It's what really allows us to make the shifts and changes. If we only hold it intellectually in our mind, we tend not to make the shifts and the changes. We hold it just as a thought. But when we get an experience, it actually creates our emotions. It actually engages all of our senses. And those experiences are what we really remember. They're the ones that really touch our lives and touch us down to a soul level. So this message also is on my tab of the Main Street, or I should say my page of the Main Street Universe tab on my website. And you can go and you can reflect back on this throughout the week as well. And so for tonight's concept from Yehuda, we have revealing the dark side, and that's the common name of God that he's providing us tonight, revealing the dark side. And what he shares with us is, starts off with a quote by Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he didn't exist. And then he goes on to say, did you ever wonder why seeming bad things happen to good people? And as he goes on here, he says, our purpose in life is to find the light that was hidden at the moment of creation. That purpose can be fulfilled only if we identify the actual hiding spot, which is all our negative traits, each and every last one of them. And I want to interject in here because, you know, I was just pondering on this prior to the show, and I'm sitting here in Providence, Rhode Island, and when I started looking at the negative traits, these negative traits oftentimes show up in people around us that maybe challenge us, or maybe we feel are bringing negative energy into our life somehow, or, you know, creates a very challenging or what we would term negative experience in our life. And it's very ironic because my ex-fiance, the only time I almost got married, from many, many years ago, I'm sitting here, it's been about 32 years. It'd be 32 years this holiday season, or actually it's about 32 years this fall right now, since that engagement. And I lost that person. That person was actually blown up, mailing a letter to me. And so it's a really intense situation for me to be sitting here, talk about emotions coming up and dealing with negative aspects. And when I read this earlier, I was like, wow, this is a really powerful thing for me. And this is a big thing I'm already working on clearing, is things through relationships of all sorts to reopen some energy in that area and elevate it into a brand new space. So it's a very intense place to be sitting right now. But when we look at these things, you know, these people are coming into us for a reason. So if we learn how to alleviate that trait within ourselves, if we're getting somebody who's reflecting to us all kinds of negative energy, if we're getting somebody who's around us that is an alcoholic or abusive or manipulative or whatever the case is for you, what we want to do is look at that being something that's hidden within ourselves somewhere, whether it's it might not be alcoholism, but it might be another addictive pattern, for example, and then looking at how we can elevate that. So I just wanted to kind of toss that in there with his insight here. And then he goes on to say, we can come into this world blessed with a nature that is 99.9% positive, but there can still be one microscopic negative trait buried somewhere inside. And if we ignore it and wonder, why me, the knock becomes harder. So what are the good people like us supposed to do? When the sunlight shines through a set of window blinds, thousands of dust particles are visible in the shafts of light. But until the sunlight arrived, we couldn't detect the dirt and dust swirling in the air. The light of this name works in the same way. When we allow the spiritual light to shine in our lives, it reveals any self-centered qualities that still taint our nature. Activate this name when you find yourself asking, what did I do? And the meditation that Yehuda gives on this is light shines. You recognize the negative forces still active within yourself. Your reactive impulses are no longer a mystery. With the power of this name, they're history. And again, the common name is Revealing the Dark Side, and the more technical name is Yud Chet Vav. And that's Yud Chet Vav. And that is something that, again, you can check out on my tab of the Main Street Universe page, or the Main Street Universe, my page of the Main Street Universe tab. Boy, I'm a little dyslexic tonight, maybe. And that's on my website, JosieAnnNicholsGeorge1.com. But this is important because as we're growing in our spiritual path and we think we've come a long way, the more and more we let the light in, there are going to be things that we're going to see that we need to work on. And it doesn't matter whether you've just started on your path, whether you have been on your path for decades, like I've been on my path for decades. And I'll tell you, these things still come up. And the key is, are we willing to deal with them? Are we willing to look at them? And I think that that's a really important factor. Now, a little thought for us to kind of hold while we go on break tonight before we bring in our guests. And that is a little something on our topic here, or where we're focusing tonight. When getting ready to find a gift or make a purchase, do you just go to your one-stop Walmart? And how often do you take the time to shop at smaller, local, indie-style stores? Would you spend an extra dollar to support a bigger value? So many of us are well aware of the concept where attention goes, energy flows. And usually we are relating this to something that we are trying to manifest or create, healing or clearing something from our lives. However, does it apply to much more than that? Day after day, especially now that I'm on the road full time, I see people mindlessly shopping for either services or products. And this is one area where mindfulness is really important. Every day I see people filing in the big chain stores for things, and certainly this is something we do for many reasons. You know, there's lower cost. We can get a lot of things in one place, have it. Other places don't have what we're looking for, etc. However, have you ever taken the time to really think about what you are doing by shopping many of these places? More and more people are becoming aware of the influence and control of the major banking families around the world. And we are, also, we're also seeing countries, for example, like Iceland, who's kind of been the pioneer in things, breaking away from them and regaining their true freedom. And most of us, however, never look at what we're supporting physically or spiritually when doing the bulk of our shopping in such places. Now, this is where people can be reminded that they really do have an influence. Where you spend your dollar is also who you are giving your power and control to on an energetic level. And it shows you, who you are supporting and who you are letting fall away. Now, I'm not saying that all small business owners and indie shops are operating ethically. However, most large chains, and there are a few that are really making a difference in the world, are supporting the large banking families. Supporting child slave labor, sending your money to pay off politicians and make deals that will bring greater destruction to our earth, our families, and our lives. When you purchase from them, this is what you are supporting. Animal and vegan activists have been very proactive in showing the connection. Now, Lorraine Kat Morris is just one of many indie store owners, and I myself have also been one of these store owners in the past, and like many others, questions arise and how to survive against the big companies when you don't have the budget to purchase in the same quantity. And like many, she gives and gives to her community, not only in supporting community events, raffles, fundraisers, etc., but also energetically. She offers Reiki sessions as well as many other courses to help others develop themselves. In addition, she tries to support other local organizations and charities, but surviving among the big giants can still be quite a challenge. Now, the key is that as it is important, it's just as important to be aware of ourselves, our environment, the friends we carry, and the actions we take. It's also important to pay attention to where we're spending our money. And it is important to take a look at what is local and independently owned. Often these people will work harder for you, are putting in more to really develop their passion, and often give tremendously to their community. When you shop with them, you're also feeding your own passion, succeeding. You are giving yourself more freedom by allowing the money to be dispersed around and not just collect in the hands of 1%. As you get to know your local growers, organic food sources, and the people that are there day in and day out, giving of themselves to support and provide that unique little store that touches your heart. They maybe provide a gathering space, or maybe they offer something that you can't find anywhere else, or even it's just an experience, something pleasant when you walk in the door. As for me, I'd just be happy to spend an extra few cents or even $1 more to keep such dreams alive, theirs and mine. And it is the people in the local bookstore or new age shop that give me the opportunities to grow into who I am. It is the friendly face behind the counter that greets me when I enter and says thank you when I leave that refreshes me from the busy outer world. It is the love that is put into everything that they do that touches my heart. And for me, that can't happen too much these days. We need all of it that we can have. Do you have a favorite shop that was part of your spiritual process? Are there experiences with locally owned businesses that have made you want to see them succeed? Have you really looked at what you are supporting when you shop somewhere? This week, we're going to focus on a component of compassion that is related to the aspect in my book that's creating a new world. And this reminds us that we each have the ability to shift the way our world is, and that, with or without focusing on a particular mission, where we place our energy and the choices we make do change the world in which we live. I'm going to take a short break, and when we return, I will have Lorraine Kat Morris with us, and she will be sharing her work as an indie business owner, Reiki, an intuitive worker, and much more. And I've got actually 2 songs for you during our break because they're a little bit short here. The first one is called I'm Living in Your Shadow. The second one is called Here We Are. They're both by Claire Hedin, and if you'd like to find out more about her work or connect with her, you can certainly do so through her website, which is www.clairehedin.com, and that's CLAREHEDIN.com. And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
And I'm living in your shadow, and it is much fun living in your shadow, wondering why I haven't gone. I'm living in your shadow, it's really not much fun. Sitting in the background, I'm watching you move forward in the passion of each day. Sitting in the background, fading right away, fading right away. And I'm wondering why I am still here. I'm wondering why I haven't got into my own gear. Sitting in your shadow, and it isn't much fun. I tell you, there's no sunshine when there is no sun. In the shadow, in the shadow, in the shadow, in the shadow. I light your way up for you for business and fun. I'm always hoping that someday you'll turn around and be my son, be my son. And I'm watching you move forward in the passion of each day, and I'm sitting in the background fading right away. I'm watching you move forward in the passion of each day, sitting in the background fading right away, fading right away. Here we are, stuck again, lost in
And welcome back. You are listening to Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I'm your hostess this evening. You were just listening to a couple of songs here by Claire Hedin. First one being I'm Living in Your Shadow, and the second one being Here We Are. And you can definitely check out more of her work at www.clairehedin.com. And I'd like to bring on my guest tonight, Lorraine Kat Morris. She is the owner of Enlightened Path Holistic Center. She's a Reiki master, intuitive. She inherited her gifts as they have run in her family for several generations. Kat studied Reiki with Christina Leeson and opened her intuitive gifts through the Inner Light Center. She decided that she also wanted to provide a place of gathering for others that were looking to learn and receive work in massage, Reiki, and intuition, spiritual studies, belly dancing, drumming, and more. Kat's passion to help others be able to grow, learn, and develop themselves provides others a safe place to explore and expand themselves, and reminds us that some of the greatest treasures are found in such spaces. We're taking a look tonight at why places like the Enlightened Path Holistic Center are so important to us, as well as Kat's work with Reiki and intuition. And you can learn more about the offerings that she has and the Enlightened Path Holistic Center at www.enlightenedpath-home_page.php. And that link's at the bottom of our show description as well. So that's an easy way to just kind of jump right in there. Let me get our mic open, Doug. Kat, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour.
Hi, Jessie.
It's great to have you here. I know you're coming off of a busy evening and you had movie night at the store, so I just really appreciate you taking your time tonight for us, too.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be talking to you. It's awesome. I really appreciate you inviting me to share some of my story with you.
And for those that don't know, actually, I just want to throw this little plug in here, and that is the Enlightened Path is the next stop on the Compassion Tour. So anybody who wants to come in and check out what I'm doing there, we've got 2 workshops coming up there, and we've also got private sessions that people can schedule with me while I'm there, and it's going to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for private sessions. So come on by and check out the store. And I'm going to have Kat start by just sharing with us a little bit of who she is and this journey that led her to open up this great little indie store that she's got going.
Well, like most stories, it kind of starts with a little bit more of a fluke than an intention. It's not something I ever had in mind years back that this is what I was going to do. I happened to stop into another little store and just to see what they had. I love the little shops and all the little treasures that you can find in there, and I happened to come upon one that looked really interesting, not far from where I lived. So I stopped in and fell in love with everything that they had, all the wonderful little trinkets and crystals and oils, and the wonderful lady that ran the shop. And she encouraged me to come to a class that was at the Inner Light Holistic Center, which was right next door to her, that evening for getting in tune with your intuitive. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. Not really something that I had delved into that much. I had always done a little bit of intuitive work, but when you get married and you have kids and, everything kind of gets pushed aside, and now I found myself on my own after 15 years of marriage and then another relationship of about 6 years with somebody else. Now I was by myself, so I didn't really have to answer to anybody, didn't have to explain myself to anybody. So this was perfect time for me to get back in touch with me and what I enjoyed. So I went to this intuitive class and I was hooked. It kind of brought everything back out from years back and just started my whole journey. Started going to once-a-month classes there, and that led to other classes there. I started doing more of readings at local places, a little bit from home. I still had your old, the typical 9-to-5 work job, customer service manager. And as I'm going through these classes at the other center, I also found out about Reiki. And this really intrigued me because it sounded a lot like things I always felt I had a natural gift for, just, touching and trying to alleviate people's discomfort or pain. Always something I wanted to do and felt that I could do. But this channeled it more. This honed it in more. So I went to my first Reiki class. Wasn't sure how I was going to do it financially because although I was working, it was just me on my own, and financially I was just about getting by. There wasn't like extra money for things. But once I had my mindset that I was going to take this Reiki class, somehow the funds just ended up there. And I went, and I was, again, hooked. Couldn't wait for my next Reiki class, the level 2. And again, wasn't sure how I was going to have the funds to do it, but somehow they ended up there. And then I couldn't wait for the 3rd level, which was your master, which also allowed you to teach. Although at the time I had no intention of ever teaching it. I didn't see myself in this position yet. It was still just the intention to be able to do it for other people. So I went through the master. So I got my 3rd degree with the Reiki. I was doing it from home, evenings, weekends. But the more I was doing it, the more the 9-to-5 job that I had been at for 10 years just didn't do it for me anymore. I needed more. I wanted more. And I started thinking about having my own little place. And it was just, in my first intentions, a little place, just a little spot where I would be able to do my own readings, my own Reiki sessions, and that was my intention, but not kind of how it went. I ended up, you've been in my space, you've seen what the shop looks like here. This is probably 4 times as big as what my initial intent was, but it fell into my lap as soon as I started to think about doing it outside of home and having it as a regular business. Everything just fell into place. And here I am. I ended up with a space that allowed me to not only do my own Reiki and readings, but also to open up to other facilitators to come in and to help them to grow, to help them to start their own businesses and to help them reach out to more people. Started finding myself, doing other classes and workshops and sharing more knowledge with other people. We also have enough space here for consignment, which to me it's important to include local people, local artists. And a lot of what we carry here is with local people. So it's handmade. It's, a lot of it is natural, oils, lotions, crystals, jewelry, beautiful things, artwork. I have artwork here from local artists. I have books from some local authors. Also carry some of yours, which are awesome, by the way. And I'm really looking forward to having you offer your services here as well. That's going to be a wonderful experience to have you here. When we did meet before, we didn't really have a lot of time to spend to talk. It was kind of a brief passing, but it's going to be nice to actually have you do your work here. So I'm looking forward to opening the space up to you and seeing what you have as well.
It's such a pleasure as I reflect back, and you bring up so many good points about feeling like something is a fluke, and yet, sometimes what we feel is a fluke is simply our soul and our destiny at work, so to say. It's one of those things that when something is your path, you're not going to get out of it.
Exactly.
No matter what. It's going to keep coming back around to you. And so I think that that's one of those things for people to pay attention to, and I think the biggest thing is to pay attention because, as you mentioned, the 9-to-5 job stopped working, and I went through that as well. The 9-to-5 job was not working for me, and I did have my own little store for a while in Cambria, California, and and I tried to do regular jobs at different points along the way for some consistent income, and what I realized is I would do really great for about 3 months, and then I would have all kinds of issues. Like for 3 months, I was walking on water with everybody, and then after that, it was like I had a target on my back. And I came to realize one day, I go, oh, I'm just not supposed to be working for anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing. And as soon as I realized that, these other doors started to open. And that was a part that you mentioned, too, is that the doors start to open. And I really want to emphasize that with people, that there's a fine line between jumping out there and going, oh, well, all the doors are going to open up for me now that I'm doing this, and taking some foolish risks in the process.
Oh, yeah.
And when I say foolish risks, I mean, for example, you have no money in the bank and you go and rent a shop space out at $2,000 a month, and you have no way to pay for that.
Right.
To me, that's a foolish risk versus, okay, I know I'm budgeted for X amount, and wow, this bigger space showed up than what I was anticipating. So those doors do open, and as you described, and those that have been following me on Facebook know, my jumping on tour here at the end of 2014 was actually one of those big trusting the universe. And it's been very interesting because I hit the road not having any clue what I would be able to bring in or do, or whether the funds were going to show up along the way. And every step I've taken and everything I've needed has shown up. Everything, from friends offering me places here and there for a night, wanting to get together and meet, and it's been amazing. And our journey together, which I want to kind of fill people in on, happened 2 years ago when I was on tour with my first set of books, and I was ironically supposed to be at a different place than your place. And there were some funky things that happened, and there were some mix-ups that happened with that place. And the person that had originally connected me there said, "Hey, why don't you come by Enlightened Path? I want you
we
to
were having a
just come by."
meditation that night. Yeah.
Yes, and you were doing some wonderful discussion on the goddesses, I remember. And I walked in, and it brought back so many memories for me, and it just opened my heart. I was like, oh, this place is one of those places that's the heart of the town. So here again, we'd like to say it was a fluke, but it was really meant to be. And here we are 2 years later, and I'm coming back and just thrilled to be there. So, Kat, I find that you're what I would call the indie business owner in the spirituality and New Age industry. And this is a huge thing. Indie businesses are coming up, and they're so important. What would you say does it take to be an indie business owner in this industry? Because first of all, this industry is not always an easy industry to have a business in.
It is hard. It is. It's not your typical street business, that people walk by and just pop into. It is a niche type of business that's not accepted by everybody, so that kind of narrows things down a little bit. It's still considered woo-woo by, a good portion of people. Typical advertising does not work because you don't reach the right people. It's a lot of word of mouth, getting the attention just from visibility. Facebook is my biggest friend, and I've been a little over 2.5 years now, and they say your first 3 to 5 years are usually the hardest, and I think in this type of business it's especially true because, again, you don't have the typical advertising or marketing, so it does take a little bit longer. So it's not easy, and you definitely have to love it to keep pushing through with it.
It is true, and it is a challenge, like you say, in that niche market in there. And I think that's the key, is because, if you're not in a niche market, people are, they know you, they're going there, they're frequent. And like you say, you kind of have these additional challenges of maybe not being as generally accepted by people. And I think that comes down to a lot of fears that people have about what that's all about, their programming that they've had that says, oh, no, don't go into that place.
Right. I mean, they see, they do readings there, they do intuitive work there. So right away their guard goes up. Meditations, they just see, especially the reading work, the Reiki work. If they don't understand it, they fear it. And it is from society, and it goes back years and years and years of being taught that it's a bad thing. And they don't understand that we are coming from a place of light with that work. We are coming from a place of love. We are coming from a place of a desire to genuinely help other people better their lives. There are, unfortunately, businesses out there, if you even want to call them businesses, they're more fly-by-nights, that do give readers and healers a bad rap. They are out just for the money, or, they are out conning people and putting fear into people, and that does hurt the places like this that genuinely want to be there for people.
And this is true, and I know from having my store was in a town of about 5,000 people, and we had 26 churches in the town.
Oh.
So it was just a little bit, and I was dating somebody at the time. I had my store, and he was always a little bit paranoid because he's like, well, 2 other metaphysical shops have been burned down.
Oh, my goodness.
What makes you think that you're going to survive? And I said, first of all, I'm not hiding anything. And I did actually, at Halloween time, come out and offered an interview on the 5 o'clock news. They actually put me on the 5 o'clock news. And I dispelled the myth of witchcraft because I wanted people to know that we look like everyday people. If you were walking down the street, you wouldn't be able to go, oh, that person's a witch.
Right.
And I thought that was really important in a time where people, like you say, are so fear-based, and it doesn't matter whether it's in a physical store or whether it's a situation in our life. I mean, it could just be, it could be starting a new job. If you're afraid of that, you build all these judgments up. But I remember I had such favorable response that I had like 65-year-old couples coming in the store going, I have to get this book for my daughter. She's a witch. It was really an interesting thing. My boyfriend was just paranoid the shop was going to be burned down. And, when it came around to it, and people got to know me because I contributed to everything. And I think that's part of a huge thing with the indie business owner is you really have to be really actively involved in the community for people to start to dispel that fear. But I also ended up with a priest and a Christian counselor for clients.
Oh, my goodness, good for you.
I think part of all of that is bridging the gap. It's bridging the gap and bringing unity to the different belief systems. And when you are heavily involved in the community, then those barriers come down.
And I think that's also part of the reason why I try to incorporate everyday things here, too. It's not just what other people would consider woo-woo stuff. I also have, like tonight we had our movie night, which was open for anybody to come in. We've done coupon classes here. I've opened it up to other people, hosting events here. I have somebody that's doing a tea party. It's just something that anybody can come in who loves tea. We're doing a Halloween party. We're always trying to throw different things in there that are going to open it up to people who would not normally walk through the door. They're coming in for something else, and then once they come in, they can see that the place does feel good. It doesn't feel scary. It's not scary in here, but it's getting them through the door to feel that first. There's always soft music playing. It always smells good. Aromatherapy smells, incense smells. The energy in here is very calm and very peaceful. People are welcome to just come in. I have a sitting area where it's kind of like set up like a little living room. We have coffee table and a love seat, and I've always got coffee on and tea ready, and people are welcome to just come in and sit down and relax, to get away from the scary world out there, and they don't have to come in to get a service or to buy something. It's a safe place for them to come.
And that is probably one of the things that I remember the most about my mentor shops and the different places I would go during some of my learning processes, is that they did have those areas where you could just go in and sit and communicate with people and relax. And you have this sort of, it's almost like having a little network, a little mini network to go to and ask questions. And I think that this is so important when people are learning, especially when they're early on in their path, that they have that type of environment that they can do that in. You mentioned earlier also about there are places out there that give readers and people a bad rap. And I have to agree with you in the sense that there are definitely people who are operating unethically, and there are people out there that simply want money, and they come up with all kinds of things to get money from people. So how does somebody distinguish those people from, say, somebody like you? Like you say, I mean, bridging the area with things, I think, like drumming and things that people are familiar with, to bring them in is a big thing. But, you know, how do people identify it? I mean, most of the time they're just looking at a shop and they don't know anything. How do they know whether the people are genuine or not?
Well, you have to, number one, trust your intuition, but you also have to do your research. I don't think, you know, if you're looking for somebody to do a reading for you or somebody to do an energy work of any kind with you, you need to talk to people that have been to them already. Don't just go in blind and, oh, they sound like they do a good job, or, oh, they're expensive, so they must be good. Just because they're expensive doesn't necessarily mean that they're honest or legitimate. That could actually be a flag saying, well, wait a minute, they may just be in this for the money, and the next thing they're going to do is want even more money to remove a curse or to stop this for you. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I have people coming in with, it always bothers me. They come in, they're scared because they went to somebody for a reading, and their first reading wasn't too bad, but then all of a sudden they're told that they've got this curse on them, and it's going to cost them, you know, hundreds of dollars to get the curse off them, and they can't afford it. What do they do? Do I have any suggestions? I'm like, yeah, you want me to take the curse off you? Here. And I snap my fingers, and I'm like, there, it's gone. And they're like, they look at you like that confused little puppy, like, huh? I'm like, the power that curse has is the power that you give it. And the only reason they're even telling you that is because they want more money from you. We don't operate like that here. You know, we don't tell you that you need this or you need that. It doesn't work that way. And I believe in being honest with people. But if you're out there looking for somebody to go to for any services like that, check them out. Don't just do it on a spur of the moment thing. Investigate them. See if there's bad write-ups about them. See what other people that have been to them think about them. If they have a Facebook page, go check it out. If they have a website, go look at it. Do your homework and trust your intuition.
I think that's good, and that is a really huge flag, is the people that, you know, they are asking you for money. They really are not legitimate. They're more of what we call fortune tellers. These people are, you know, that's the name of the game, and there's always going to be more money that they need. No matter how much you give them, there's going to be more and more and more money. And I think you're very on target with that, you know, talk to the person, get an idea of what some of their views are on these things. You know, as I tell a lot of people, you know, as you said, curses only have the power that you give them. And realistically, if we look at an energetic vibration, and you certainly know this as a Reiki practitioner or Reiki master and teacher, that if you're operating on a vibration of love, loving energy, that curse can't affect you, really, because that loving energy is above the vibration of the curse. Therefore, the curse cannot survive in it.
But when you're operating from fear, well, then you're giving it a good grip on you.
Exactly.
And the other thing, too, I mean, for me, personally, when I'm working with somebody, I prefer to give them the tools that they can go forward and do the work themselves. It's not you need to come back to me every week. You need to come back to me once a month. Everybody's different, but if at all possible, I give them the tools after working with them to go and do it themselves.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be dependent on me. I want them to become independent and to be able to do it themselves, whereas some of these other people, like you said, it's always come back for more, come back for more, come back for more, and that's a flag. And I think a good teacher, a good practitioner will give you the tools to empower you.
I think that that's a very key point there as well, is having those tools that lead to the self-empowerment. Because when we have store owners like yourself and readers and people doing different types of spiritual work out there, and they're coming up with all different kinds of names for what they do. But when it comes down to it, I think one of the keys are, are they telling you what to do, or are they helping you learn how to do it yourself? And if they're teaching you how to do things yourself, then I can certainly say they're coming from a more, if we want to say, evolved or aware space. And they're coming from a very genuine space. If they're telling you what to do, and that is their mode, that is more of a control aspect, that is more of an aspect of wanting to try to get you back and insisting that you need so many sessions with them or something like that. If somebody's genuine, you may not need more than a couple of sessions with them. Just whenever something comes up.
Yeah.
And that's my experience. I mean, I find that with my work a lot of times. Somebody gets a session with me, and I may not see them for 6 months or a year because they don't need my help during that time, which is great. They've been consciously working on their own stuff. I've taught them enough of how to do it.
And it's learning to not take that as a personal affront of, they're not coming back to me because I wasn't good enough or they don't like me. It's looking at, I did good for them. They are now empowered that they don't need me, and that's a good thing.
I actually had that happen in this last week where I was doing my events in Westford, Massachusetts, and I had somebody that was scheduled to come to, she'd attended the first workshop, which was the sock song, and then she was registered to attend the healing one, but she got a private session with me in between time, and she goes, I don't want you to be offended, but I don't think I'm going to come to your healing workshop now because I feel like everything's all cleared and I feel like I have so much to work with and I just kind of want to sit with myself now. And I said, well, yeah, you think about it and you decide, and sometimes being there and having the interaction with other people is really valuable, and and yet you may have enough going on for yourself and you've got enough healing and clearing happening that you may want to just hold that energy for yourself right now. And you just have to wait and see when it comes up. And, she chose not to come up, and the store owner or the business owner was a little bit concerned, like, oh, my gosh, she's not coming. And I said, it's okay. She actually told me yesterday that, she may not come. And I said, that's okay, because she felt like she got so much cleared from that.
Oh, that's
so,
awesome.
And
I think I have
genuine,
some people or...
Yeah, and if somebody's genuine in that, they're going to be happy that you made that shift.
Right. And I've had people that have come in for like a Reiki session, and they ask me afterwards, how often should I have a Reiki session? And I think they're expecting me to tell them, oh, you need this every week or you need it once a month. And when I tell them, everybody's different, you may not need it again for months, or you may feel like you need it 2 or 3 weeks from now. I'm not going to tell you how often you need it. You decide when you feel like you could use it again. When you start thinking about how good it felt and how, it made you feel after, then maybe that's, your higher self saying it's time to get some again. But I'm not going to tell you you need it every week or every month because, number one, everybody's different, And number two, every situation is different, and I'm not going to be the one to tell you how often you need it. You know when you need it. And I think they're surprised.
And that's another sense of evolvement because, here again, when we're moving along on our path, no matter where we are, it's about helping people become responsible for their choices and for what's right for them. And, you or I might be able to look at somebody's energy and go, yeah, they might be able to use this right now. But on the other hand, we're not in their body and we don't know what they're experiencing and we don't know what they're dealing with. And it may not be the right time for them to do something. So like you say, there's all different pieces, and helping people get to that point where they're empowered by their choices. And I think women sometimes have a harder time than that, or at least the feminine energy has a harder time with that because they are so used to being told or asking other people, what should I do? And this is a new experience to go, oh, you mean I actually get to decide for myself?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I will make suggestions as to other tools that may help them, or suggestions as to other things that they can do in the meantime. But again, they are suggestions. They are tools that you can use. I'm not telling you have to do this or you need to do that. These are some things that you may consider trying. These are some things that may help you.
Right.
But again, they are suggestions. They are tools that you can use. What you do with them, that's on you.
Right, exactly. And that's the key. We have to take the tools and use them. If we don't, I've said it numerous times on my shows, if we don't use the tools, it doesn't matter how many tools we have. You can have every tool in the world, and if you don't use it, and that's what I was speaking about also earlier in the show, that it's the difference between taking it from a thought to making it an experience. When you just have the tools, it's in the thought process. When you use the tools, it becomes an experience.
Right.
Now, Kat, do you find as a store owner that people have judgments about you or certain maybe preconceived ideas or things like that, or expectations of you?
Oh, I think everybody, I think it's human nature to have expectations or judging a book, type of thing. I think a lot of people make a mistake of assuming that just because I own my business that I must have it made. I must have a lot of money because I own my own business. Little do they know it's the opposite because everything I have goes back into the business, and it is new. So, 2.5 years is still new. I'm still struggling. But people make the assumption that, oh, you own your business, you've got it made. And they don't think that you need help. They don't think that you need the support. And I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of other judgments, really. That's probably the main one.
That's an irony to me always, because it's like, oh, you're a business owner, you don't need the help, but let me go help Walmart.
Yeah.
And
it's like, no, we need your help a lot more.
And I feel like it is true, because I had a lot of people when I had my store that had that judgment about me as well. And I think part of it is when you have developed your own self spiritually to a certain point and you are taking responsibility for your choices, that a lot of these things appear effortlessly to other people. And they forget how much work goes into these things. I don't know about you, but I know when I was a store owner, I don't think I put in, I think a 10-hour day would have been a a light day for me. I think my average day was at least 12 to 15 hours.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, people don't
and
realize
it's 7
that.
days a week. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the hours are definitely a lot. I mean, it's to me, I love being here, so it's not to me a lot of work. It's not something that I regret, or if I was working for somebody else, I would certainly be, oh, I can't believe I'm putting so many hours in. But I am on my own, so I don't, my kids are grown, they're out on their own, they're doing well, so I don't have to worry about being there for them. I am currently single, so I don't have a partner that I need to answer to. So I don't have to be home, and I don't have to worry about neglecting somebody at home. So that helps. Now, if I was married or had kids, I don't think I could do this. I really don't, because I would be feeling bad for neglecting them. People look at the shop hours and, okay, well, you're open 10 to 6. Well, guess what? I'm here like an hour before I open because I've got to get this ready, I've got to get that ready, I've got to go through my emails, my voicemails, and I've got to get all that done before I open. So I'm here an hour before. Yes, I close at 6, but I have meditation tonight, and then I have discussion group after that. So I'm here till 8, 8:30, sometimes 9 o'clock. Oh, and this night I've got dance class. That's keeping me here till 8 o'clock. So there's something like every night. I'm closed on Sundays and Mondays, but 9 times out of 10 I'm still here because I have a class, I have a workshop, I have clients that I'm seeing for my own appointments because I try to do those when the shop's not open, only because it's easier to have the door locked and not worrying about people coming in and out, or I don't have other practitioners here doing their work. So it is 7 days a week, and, you know, yeah, that's a lot of hours. And then there's this stuff that you're doing behind the scenes when you're not even working, the networking, the emails, the trying to come up with new ideas, the redecorating, the moving things around. There's always something.
I think that's the thing is there is so much that goes into it that people don't see in the indie stores. And whereas you go to a bigger store or a chain store and they have a whole team of people, working there and taking care of things for them. But when
this one does that, that one does this. I'm doing it. It's me.
Yeah, I mean, you're wearing all the hats. You're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the teacher. You're carrying all the hats, and it is a challenge, I think, for people. And I want people to understand this because they need to understand that, especially when a business is in its first, I would say 7 years now. It used to be 3 to 5 years. Now I would say it's more like 5 to 7 years of opening. There rarely, if ever, is a profit going on.
Absolutely.
Maybe if there's something like a UPS store that's a franchise and they've already, they've got a huge marketing team and stuff that's happening for them, that's a little different story. But for the most part, it's going to be in that time frame before the business is really profiting, I would say, or doing well as an average. And I think it comes back to the aspect, too, that, as I mentioned in the article, we need to look at where we're spending our money. And the money isn't going just into somebody's pocket. Ironically, with the indie business owners, it rarely is going just straight into their pockets, regardless of what we might think. Whereas when you spend at a big corporation, a lot of times it is going straight into their pockets. Yes, they have the expenses and everything too, but it oftentimes is going towards bigger and bigger salaries for the big CEOs in the companies there. And, what would you say maybe are some of the benefits that happen when somebody shops for example, at an indie store like yours?
Well, it's you have to keep in mind too that it's not even just myself. When you shop here at a place like this, I think the same is true with a lot of other small places like this, you're also supporting the local artists that have their jewelry here. You're also supporting the artists that have their paintings here, the authors that have their books here, the ones that make their own oils and aromatherapy things. You're supporting them and their small business. The practitioners that come here and do their Reiki work or their readings, you're also supporting them. It's not just me or this center. You're also supporting the community, because if this center doesn't exist, there's a lot of people that wouldn't have that safe haven to go to. They wouldn't have a comfortable place to go to. They wouldn't have a place to get their healing done. There's so many people that have come here and have had their life improved. And
yes, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, if this place were to close down, there would be a lot of people that would be very disappointed. And at the same time, some of these people are, you wonder where they go. It's like, I know how much you appreciate it, but where are you?
Right. And
spread the word. If you know of a small business that you appreciate, spread the word. Tell people about it. Send your friends there. Let your friends know what a great place it is. Let them know how much they're supporting by going there.
And this is so true. I mean, we have our choices of all these different options, but as you say, it's not just about that business. And when we spend in the community, that money stays in the community, which is important, because that actually comes back to us as people who live in the community, which means every time we spend in an indie store, we're actually seeing the benefits of that as a citizen there.
Right.
Whereas when you go and spend in a big chain store, guess what? Even though it's in your hometown, you're going to see very minimal benefits, because most of that money is going to go out to a corporate office somewhere else.
Exactly, yep.
And
pays for some...
Go ahead.
And you're paying for, some big corporate person to go on some fancy vacation, or, have their big meals and conferences, and, it stays in the community when you're supporting the small business.
Exactly. And that makes such a big difference for us on so many levels, in so many ways. And, again, we benefit personally on so many levels. And I'm not against somebody having a great vacation and all of those sorts of things too. But, when we get down to it, it's like what you're supporting there also is the aspect of materialism, because that's what they're focused on. Whereas in the indie stores, the focus is on people's dreams and on their visions. And one of the things I talk about in compassion is that and I'm sorry, I had somebody I was checking on in the chat room here, but what we give is what we receive. And when we talk about giving, that's not just our time and things like that, but where we put our dollar. And if we put our dollar into somebody's dreams, that's like giving them their dreams and their passions, which means we're going to start receiving our dreams and passions as well.
Absolutely.
So it's a huge thing, and that's something we need to think about. It's an easy way if you want to start building your dreams and visions, and to get, I think, inspired by doing the whole,
And your
Yeah.
dreams and passions may not necessarily be opening your own business. It may be something completely different, but you're still opening the energetic door for your dreams and passions, whatever they may be.
Exactly. And that is the key. It's the energy flow. It's not that you're doing exactly the same thing as somebody else, but it's the energy flow that's happening with that. So a big thing for us to keep in mind, a big piece for us to consider as that. And I'm glad that you're willing to talk about this because, you know, I think there are so many distortions, and I think it's something for people to be aware of as they are building things, and not to scare people if they want to go out and open a shop by any means. But
yeah, no. I mean, be prepared, be ready, have a plan. You know, if you want to open your own business, you do have to do some research. You do have to do some homework. You need to know if it's something that's going to be welcomed, or is it going to fit in your area? Is it something that's needed in your area? And what are your monetarily, you know, don't overstep what you can afford. I mean, I got so lucky with the place that I'm in as far as like the rent and location. It fell in because it was meant to be. I had a number in mind. I can't go over this amount. I looked at other places that were around that amount. They were in bad areas. They didn't have parking. They were tiny, tiny little itty-bitty places. They just didn't fit. And then this place came along, and my first thought was, it's huge. It's going to be so much more than what I want to pay. Asked if somebody could find out, and well, it was actually brought to my attention. And they said, well, what about this place? And I was like, well, that's going to cost too much. And they said, well, I'll find out for you. And they came back with twice what I was looking to spend. And I said, no, that's way over what I can do, and kind of put it out of my mind and dismissed it. And then they come back to me a couple days later and said, well, so-and-so put in a good word, and they want to work with you, and they're going to drop the price to help you get started. And I'm like, well, drop it to how much? And they didn't know what my number was. Nobody did. And when they came back to me, it was the exact number that I had in my mind. I'm like, and it was like half of what they originally wanted. I'm like, are you serious? So I knew it, you know, it was meant to be. And from that point, everything fell into place. But you can't jump into it with unrealistic expectations. Know that it is going to be hard work. You are going to give up a lot of, you know, time-wise, financially, energetically. You're going to give up a lot to make it work. But it's so worth it. You know, there's so many other benefits to it.
I think that's something for people to be prepared for. There's a fine line in there, because you've got to be prepared to, as you say, on one hand, give up a lot in it, but we also have to keep some boundaries where we do take that time for ourselves, and we do keep the balance in there, because I do know that having that balance is very important to the success of these types of businesses. And like you, I mean, I would get in there, and I loved what I did so much, I didn't even hardly notice half the time that it had been 12 hours. It was like, oh, my gosh, I need to go.
Right. Yeah, and I'm still learning about that balance. I still haven't, you know, I still put my all into it, and I still forget to schedule some time, you know, for me. So, but I'm getting there. I'm learning.
And I think you bring up a good point in the sense that, you know, have your numbers in mind, have your concepts in mind of what you can and cannot do on a practical level, because it's the practical as well that's going to be important, and hold to that and to honor that. As you do that, things will unfold, and sometimes we just have to be a little bit patient in that process and work with it. But you can't just jump in there and go, well, it's going to show up because I'm doing it. On one hand, it does, but the universe also expects you to be responsible and practical. In the
right, and
process
it's not all
there.
just going to, right, and it doesn't all just fall into place on its own. You do have to do some of the work to help bring it in. The other thing is patience is absolutely, but it's also a lot of strength to not give up as soon as it starts to get a little tough, because it will. And there's times in the beginning where I think a lot of people may have given up and decided that it just wasn't going to work. But I just knew, no, I've got to keep pushing. I've got to keep pushing. This is meant to happen. It wouldn't have come about the way it did if it wasn't meant to happen. And there's been a number of times when I have had to really push through and have faith and patience. And things do start to fall together. I mean, it is still a struggle, but it is getting easier. It is getting better.
And I think you have to delve down so much deeper, because as an indie business owner, and it's anything that you're doing in the spiritual arena. I know my own work is a little bit new for people, the type of work I do, and there can be that hesitancy, like, well, you don't fit into that cookie cutter mold, so I don't always know what you're doing. You have to get more creative, because you do have things that people are not as familiar with, they're not as used to dealing with, and that sort of aspect, which leads me to a question. For example, why should somebody come and take a workshop with, say, somebody like at your store? Like, I'm going to go to your store and provide these workshops. Why should they do that when, as opposed to going ahead and going to some big name, Deepak Chopra or Wayne Dyer or whoever, what would be an advantage to somebody?
Well, number one, the affordability. You're probably going to find the affordability is much better dealing with a smaller location as to a large corporation doing a class or a workshop. You're going to get more of a personal approach. You're going to get a more intimate approach. You're going to get follow-up where the door is always open. If you need help afterwards or you have questions afterwards, that's always available. I think dealing with a smaller group can be a lot less overwhelming for a lot of people. Me personally, I would feel better in a smaller situation. I wouldn't be as overwhelmed. I think I would be able to learn more in a smaller group with a more personal touch and a more individualistic approach as to a large, where you're in this whole arena full of people. How much personal attention are you going to get?
Yeah, think about it. If you're in a group of 5 to 10 people versus a group of 50 to 100, which is what you run into with a lot of the big names, because they won't run. A lot of them will not run something unless it's got 20 people or 50 people or 100 people at it.
Right. So if you have a question, what are the chances of your question being answered when you're in a smaller group? Your question's going to get answered. And I think you also have that camaraderie where you become family. You become close with the people that are in your class or in your workshop or in the whatever event it is that you're going to, especially when it's going to be repeated. Because when you come here and you take one class, you're going to want to come back for more. And you're going to start to get to know the regular people, and you're going to start to feel like they're family. a lot of people here have met and become friends through coming here and attending events. And, oh, I saw you at the last class. Oh, yeah, that's right. And the next one, oh, you're here again, and you start talking and you start making new friends. It becomes a whole new circle.
That's a really great point that you bring up, is the fact of that support system, and that overlays between the store, between the people that are participating in the workshops and things like this, is that you do gain a support system. And for a lot of people that are on their path, they don't always have that support system. And I know for me, the indie stores were a huge support system as I went through my path. It was a gigantic leap to know that I could go there and go in and talk to it. And I agree with you. And matter of fact, it's very interesting, some of the things you bring up. I've always said to myself that I know my name is going to develop more and more and more over time, and it already is. I'm seeing growth happen very rapidly, and, as I've come across country on this tour, I've had places that I booked, and, they've already said, next time we need 3 days and not 2 days for you, because you're going to be so grown by then. And my thought is while I will do a couple of so-called bigger venues, they're still going to be rustic and somewhat indie style. But at the same time, I'm still looking for the smaller stores like yourself, because I believe that it's more important to keep the business coming through those smaller stores. And like you say, working as a smaller group, I feel that people get a stronger experience that way. Kind of one of our theme topics tonight, experiences. And I feel like when you get into giant groups, that oftentimes that experience can be minimized and it can be overlooked and not with those questions answered. So I think you're very, very on target with that. And I've always told people that have done interviews of me, I said, I don't care how much I grow. If somebody comes to me and they have a radio show and they have 50 people that listen, I will do that interview if I'm available, because I think it's important to support those people that are growing and developing. And we need that support system. So I'm so glad that you brought that piece up in this process of things tonight. Very, very important.
And community.
Yes, and the community. And that's something you just can't replace. Like you said, I have not found, I've met a couple of people here and there at bigger venues, but they haven't stuck. There hasn't been that community factor there. They became a professional contest, but it wasn't really a community. And every small store I go into, I feel like I'm finding a piece of spiritual family.
Yeah, and that's what it is here, and that's what I really enjoy, is helping to develop our own little community here. And I think the larger that this community can be as a spiritual center, the more good work we can spread out. The more people that come here and learn, the more that they can go out and teach. And it doesn't have to be a class that they're teaching. It could be a conversation that they're having with a friend, or a conversation they're having with somebody in the store, or that they meet on the street. They're still teaching them something.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in a town that could definitely use some light. Absolutely.
I think everywhere can use more light.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. But I think the more we have, the more this community grows, the brighter we can shine out through the whole larger community. Our small community here can help the whole community in the long run.
Yes, and that is a really great point, because the small communities through the indie stores like yourself, they are developing that light. They are growing it through the people that are coming in, and they are dispelling what I would say, the darkness of ignorance along the way. And that does make a difference in the community, because when we look at the light raising within a community, the energetic vibration, and that happens by each person that steps more and more on their path and steps into the path of light energy, we see things like lowered crime in the area. We see things like greater compassion happening. We see more people joining together along the way. We see less anger showing up in the communities. There's tons of shifts, as you say, that value the community that we don't even think about.
Mhm. Absolutely. So
and I think that people people are looking for that uniqueness. They're looking for a piece that is a little bit different, and the indie stores definitely offer that.
Yes, the uniqueness, and that's another thing that is good to bring up, is when you're looking for something special or a gift for somebody, you go into the Walmarts, the Targets, your big stores, and you get something. You're getting the same thing that how many other people have. There's nothing unique about it. You come into a place like this where you have a lot of handcrafted items, a lot of one-of-a-kind items, things that you're not necessarily going to see everybody else having. It is something unique. So that's another good aspect to going to any small indie-type store, is you are getting more of a unique product, more of a unique service, and I can vouch for the people here. There's some unique people here, too. I mean that in a positive way. But it is definitely something unique. So that is a good word to describe it.
And I think what's fun, too, with a store like yours that people get as an advantage, particularly if they're looking for a gift or something like that, and I find this in most of the indie stores out there, is that, or particularly like in the metaphysical stores, you have a vast amount of knowledge from Reiki things, from meditational things, from crystals and gemstones and totem animals and all kinds of different pieces there, that you have that ability when somebody walks in and says, I'm looking for a gift for somebody, and you can say, great, what's their birthday or something like that, and you have the knowledge base to connect all these pieces to help them find something that's really going to play into who that person is and make it really special and personalized. And that's how it's happening. You're not going to walk into a Walmart and have them go, oh, yeah, this person is, this person is a Taurus and their totem animal is this, and,
They'll look at you like,
so,
huh?
They look at you like you're totally crazy.
Yep. You don't get the personal touch. And here you walk in, you get greeted. You get a hello, how are you? And if they have questions, if they're, what do you suggest for calming? I'm having trouble sleeping. Is there anything you can suggest for that? And it starts a whole conversation of, well, what are you eating? What are you doing during the day? Where is your mind when you're going to sleep? And helping them find the tools that will work for them. You're not going to get that going into, like you said, Walmart or Target. You walk in and they, I'm having trouble sleeping. Well, there's the insomnia stuff. Go help yourself. They're not going to go over everything with you. There's the boxes. Go read them. You don't get that personal touch.
That's right, and it is so huge, and I'm really excited because, for a long time, if we went and shopped in the indie areas, people just looked at you like you were strange and bizarre and things like that. But now shopping indie is the hot thing to do. It's, it is the in thing to do now. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to help our communities and our small businesses and to see those results come up because it's exciting to me to see that become the hot pulse of what's happening.
I think, people are becoming more aware of, like you were saying earlier, where your money goes when you're dealing with the big corporate stores or where your money goes and where your intention goes and your energy goes when you're dealing with the smaller stores. People are starting to get that. They're starting to realize that a little bit more. Hopefully soon they're going to realize it a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's conscious shopping is, a big part of things. It's conscious. It's consciousness along the way, and it's kind of that difference between, are you just going to go buy the average product, or are you going to buy something that's organic and pesticide-free? And and it's kind of similar when you're looking at the difference of shopping in an indie store versus a non-indie store. Are you just going to go get that average thing, or are you going to go get the unique thing that's really going to be beneficial for you?
Right, and do you want the personal touch with it, the knowledge with it?
Absolutely. I think it's incredible the way you're coming around. Now, Kat, if you had kind of a first of all, let me let you promote yourself a little bit. Here, tell people what you have going on, what's coming up, what happened, what things they can take advantage of with your shop and how to reach you and all of that good stuff.
Well, the easiest way to find out all the different things that we have going on is our Facebook page. Just look up the Enlightened Path Holistic Center and like our page, and that'll keep you up to date on the events. You can also go to the website, which is enlightenedpath-hc.com, and there's an events page on there which will take you to the Facebook events page. That way I was smart. I didn't have to keep up with two different pages. But that'll let you know all the different things that we have going on. We have a Halloween party coming up. In November, we have a Sunday Psychic Brunch. There's all of our regular events, our meditation, belly dancing, discussion groups, all those different things are on there. Any specials that we're running. Right now for the month of October, I have my readings and Reiki sessions, which are normally $40 a session. I have them on special for $100. So that takes it down to $25. Wow. Yeah, so that's pretty cheap. Halloween's my favorite time. It's also my birthday month, so I'm kind of celebrating it with everybody and putting that out there. You can split it up if you want to use it for gifts. We do have gift certificates here. So even if you get the 4 for $100, if you want to give that to 4 different people, I will give you 4 separate gift certificates, and you can use that, for holiday coming up. Great gifts. Use it for yourself. Maybe you want to keep some for yourself, give some away. It's up to you how you want to do that. You can mix it up between readings and Reiki. You want to use 3 readings, 1 Reiki. However you want to do it. 4 sessions, $100.
Wonderful.
More than likely in December, I'll have more of a buy one, get one half price special. But again, check Facebook, check the website. I also do phone and email readings. Those are $30. Still run about half hour. You can get those through my Etsy page, which is Kat's Readings. The links are all on my website. I also have some online classes and the options for the phone and email readings on the website as well through PayPal. So nice, easy, convenient. The online courses are easy ones to do. They're just short, do them on your own time, very reasonable. Classes, they're pretty much classes that I do here, but not everybody can get to. Maybe you're in a different state or you just don't have the time. You can go online and get them on there. You can always call. You can call the shop. All the contact information is on both the Facebook and website. If you have questions on anything, just call, email me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. We have a Reiki 1 class coming up in November as well. Once a month we have a drum circle. That's always closest to the full moon. A lot of the things are geared to local people that, you really do have to be here to participate. But again, there are some things available that you can get long distance. You don't have to be here. So keep that in mind, too. If there's anybody listening and you have any questions on that stuff, call me or email me. Be happy to answer any of those questions. And stop out next week and see Jessie, because I'm excited about having her here, and that's going to be awesome. So I really appreciate you taking the time on your tour to be here.
And even if somebody doesn't have the time or whatever to take a class or a session with you, just stop in and say hi. I'd love when people to even stop in and chat with me for a while or things like that. It's great to see people and connect with these faces that are out there. And, it's an easy get-to from a lot of places on the East Coast, Uptown, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts or whatever. It's very easy. And I'm very excited about being back with Kat and with the Enchanted Path there. I'm very happy to be returning to there. So any kind of closing concepts or thoughts you'd like to provide for us tonight, Kat?
Well, as you were saying right from the start, it's very important to support your small local businesses. It doesn't mean don't go to your bigger business. I'm definitely one that does hit the larger grocery stores and the Walmarts and the Targets myself. But when possible, support your smaller businesses. They will not survive without your support. And it doesn't always have to be your financial support. It could just be your word of mouth. Send your friends there. Tell your friends about it. Stop in and say hello. Even sharing on Facebook. Absolutely. Share it on Facebook. There's a lot of different ways to do it.
It's so true, and even all of these small things happen because that share could lead, again, to a connection that somebody needs, and that can help. Even if you're not in a position to do something, maybe somebody somewhere in your connection base is able to do something and is looking for that. So I think it's always very, very important there. Kat, I really want to thank you a lot for taking your time tonight and for being with us and sharing with us. So many times I delve into some heavy concepts on the show, and I really wanted to delve into the indie business thing because it taps into such a bigger topic that people are starting to become aware of, but haven't completely. And, I just really want to see more and more places like yours survive and come out for us. So thank you for sharing.
I appreciate the support.
My pleasure, and I'm going to be seeing you in just a few days.
I know. I can't believe it snuck up so fast. It's going to be exciting to have you here. I appreciate you having me on the show, listening to me, allowing me to voice my opinion and share some of my experiences, and also I appreciate you taking your time to include our center on your tour.
My pleasure, and it's definitely going to help a lot of people out there where they're considering the different things that they're doing and their passions, so I know it's going to help them as well. And so I definitely appreciate it, and happy birthday to you, coming up in just a couple of days, I know.
It is. Thank you.
Enjoy that, and I'll be seeing you on Tuesdays.
Yes, I will be looking forward to seeing you when you come in.
And I do want to mention to everybody that next week on our show I have Greg Doyle coming on, and he's going to be discussing astral traveling. So that's going to be a really interesting topic. I actually sat in and worked with Greg a little bit on this very topic a while back, and so I'm very excited to bring him on the show as well. Again, all of my books, my products, things like that can be purchased through my website, JessieAnnNicholsGeorge1.com. And I do want to mention again Kat's website. The link's at the bottom of the show description, but it is www.enlightenedpath-home_page.php, and that will get you into her. But on my website, you're going to find all kinds of things. There's videos. I put new videos out every month. I, been posting different things also on Facebook recently, by the way, with different videos as I've gone through different stops on the tour and done some healing work along the way for the universe out there. So there's some fun things there. All the upcoming and archive shows are listed on my website. My monthly specials are on there, which, speaking of my monthly special right now, I do have, if you register for any full 1 or 2 day event, and it could be, any of the ones that are available to register for right now, you will receive all 4 of my ebooks absolutely free. And if you're attending the event, you actually may have the option of getting a hard copy instead of ebook, as long as I have copies available for you on that. Also on my website, you'll find a tab for Main Street Universe, where you can follow all of our hosts and catch our upcoming shows, as well as the archive shows, again, all of them on there, and learn a little more about the people that are part of Main Street Universe. And I do want to mention we are growing and developing here at Main Street Universe. Matter of fact, we're going to start having a round table of a variety of different shows a couple of days a week here. And on those days, we're going to have shows that are going to be coming on, for example, once a month. So we're going to have a whole ton of brand new shows. I mean, it'll be like, 20, 40 new shows. I don't know how many it's going to be, but it's going to be an awful lot. So definitely check that out and stay tuned with us here on the network. And as I'm mentioning, those shows are consistent shows that we do have every week. We have Sunday nights with Darren Bouquet, who's a reader at Madame Laveau in New Orleans. Spiritual Insights is his show, and you can get readings and ask him questions during the show as well. Monday nights, we have Brandy Goldberg doing Vedic astrology. Tuesday nights, Susan Reed, who's sharing her work in herbs and natural plants. Wednesday nights, we have Daniel and Denise doing our flagship show called Main Street Universe, and they cover all kinds of things from topics to guests to readings and different things like that. We have Queen Mother Amaku, who pops in and out with us on Thursdays. We have Kevin Baird, who works with his Horizon Oracle's Journeys deck, and you can learn more about that deck at templeofgaia.com. And then, of course, Fridays is Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. I do want to mention we are going to be on earlier next week as well. We're going to be on at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and that'll be 3 p.m. Pacific Time next week. So definitely an earlier show with Greg. I really appreciate everybody being here tonight and those listening in the archive. This is Jessie Ann Nichols George. I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. And again, thank you to all of our listeners, not only on Blog Talk, but those also streaming live through PEN, known as Pair Encounters Network, StreamFinder, and HealthStream Live, as well as those catching our podcast at iTunes, TuneIn.com, and the YouTube version of the show. And I do look forward to seeing you back here next week as we delve more into activating compassion. Don't forget that if you've enjoyed my show this evening, share it with others. It's going to be available at the same link in our archive. And I'm going to leave you tonight with the song Yearning For, also known as Over and Over. It's by Shamshai. And again, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here on Activating Compassion in the Midnight Hour. May you enjoy the rest of your weekend and have an absolutely amazing week.
And if I could see what makes me blind, I would soar to the edge of my mind, and to touch what seems unreal, just to show you the way that I feel. And we are in time with time, one with the season of change inside. And we are in tune with the tune, caught in a balance of sun and moon. light within, shining to show you it's it to begin. When all I have is all I need, I will soar to the edge of eternity, and we see it eye to eye, one within love to be for the divine, and we're walking hand in hand, caught in the balance of God and man. Over and over, life is your lover, learning to walk just a little bit slower, whispering secrets that you can't keep it. No turning back now, this time we reveal it. One to another, all will discover the essence within the most beautiful lover. Time is still turning, the love is still burning. Deep in your spirit, your heart still yearning for. Yearning for. Still burning, deep in your spirit, your heart still yearning.